Have you ever been in a car accident?
I have.
Yes.
I was wearing my seatbelt. I am a seatbelt wearer. I do believe seatbelts save lives. However, you can be seriously injured from wearing a seatbelt, even if you live. The first seatbelt was made by Sir George Cayley of Yorkshire, England in the 19th century. The first vehicular patent was awarded to Edward J. Claghorn in New York City on February 10th of 1885. The three-point seatbelt was made by Niels Boland in 1959. The Volvo PV 544 was the first car with a three-point seatbelt. In September of 1961, Wisconsin was the first state requiring that all new cars have three-point seatbelts installed only in the front seats.
Is that the ones that we have right now?
No.
Okay.
However, with that being said, and seatbelts being required to be in new cars, so it's not for old cars, only for the new cars being manufactured, you had to have a three-point seatbelt installed. However, there was no law requiring you to wear them. They just had to be there. It was well into the 80s, and still there were no seatbelt laws except for that they had to be installed in the car. And less than 10% of Americans were actually wearing them. New York mandated seatbelts in the front seats of 1985 and now must wear seatbelts in the front and back if you're over 16 and up. If a passenger is under 16 and not wearing a seatbelt, the driver will get a ticket. However, in the state of Mississippi, even if the passenger is over the age of 16 and not wearing a seatbelt, the driver will still get a ticket. I can attest to that. It happened to me.
Worn a seatbelt in back.
But in New York, if you are over 16 and you are a passenger in a vehicle and that vehicle is pulled over and you're not wearing a seatbelt, you, the 16-year-old, gets the ticket, not the driver, because you are of driving age and you know the laws. However, if you were under 16, the driver will be responsible for you because you will be considered a child. New Hampshire is the only state currently that does not require adults to wear seatbelts. I have absolutely no idea. I wondered the same thing. However, there's not many stats on the collision records there, like saying that, hey, well, they don't wear seatbelts, there's less accidents, or there's more accidents. In my personal opinion, I feel like if you make it a law, or if there's no law that you don't have to wear a seatbelt, I think it makes people drive a little more careful because you don't have that barrier protecting you. However, you can still be injured with that seatbelt on. Mississippi Department of Transportation says 77.9% of people here in Mississippi do wear seatbelts, and it's still one of the lowest percentages of the nation. So there are plenty of other states that actually follow this law and wear their seatbelt more. There's a term called seatbelt syndrome. I thought this was something meaning like, oh, you just wear a seatbelt all the time, or you forget to take your seatbelt off as you're exiting the vehicle. Seatbelt syndrome is the injury that you can acquire from wearing a seatbelt, which could be fractured ribs, a fractured clavicle. Hence, I've been there, done that. A spine injury, a sternum injury. You could also be stuck in your seatbelt. Let's say your car is halfway over a bridge and you're trying to get out. You might get strangled by that seatbelt trying to climb away, because generally when you get into a collision, that seatbelt locks in place. Generally they don't open anymore. They're tight, they're restrictive. You cannot move. The seatbelt locks in place. So if your arm or your leg gets caught in a bad way, it could be severed. The abrasions across the chest, the seatbelt burns, and a lot of people don't wear the seatbelt correctly. And that's part of the bigger problem, especially with small children. You know, it's supposed to go across your chest, they put it under their arm, and it's now at their waist. I saw a photo, and I believe I did put it in my PowerPoint, of a woman, a grown adult, that lost part of her abdomen because of the way she was wearing her seatbelt. Again, I do feel as if the laws were to change, or there were no law period about having to wear a seatbelt, I do believe there would be less fatalities in these accidents. Nothing is gonna stop accidents, but people do need to drive safely, not talking on the phone, not texting while driving, not drinking and driving, not driving while drowsy. Those are the issues that cause the accident. Wearing your seatbelt is not gonna help you not to have an accident.
Right.
Not wearing your seatbelt is not gonna help you not have an accident. The seatbelt is just for your safety inside the vehicle because you can be thrown through the windshield, and those usually are fatal depending on how far the distance and how fast the car is going. You can also have whiplash from the airbag coming out and the seatbelt jolting you forward from the impact, but again, not being able to move because you're restricted into this one place. I personally don't believe seatbelts should be a law. I believe children should be strapped into seatbelts because they have no control over the things that adults are doing in these cars. But I do not believe that adults should have to wear a seatbelt. I feel like it should be a part of your own recognizance if you so choose to, because again, if you drive safely and everyone around you is driving safely, then you don't have to worry about having these accidents. However, I do recommend that everyone stays alert while they drive. Again, no texting, no drinking and driving, no driving drowsy, and we will all be safe. I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
How long was that?